Welcome. I'm Kinetic Symphony. I hunt down and report on weird and true mysterious stories, from glitches to the paranormal. Case file number 1337, written by Majoodeh, the Enigmatic Water Filter Man. Earlier this year, my husband went through a terrifying, life-threatening thing, and not to go into any details, but at one point of the story, he was still bedbound and we were staying in my parents' house. Some relevant background. My parents' house is big, 2 floors plus a rooftop apartment plus a basement. It's pretty old though, and needs something fixed every month or so. My dad is very old school, and he deals with people he likes even if they overcharge him. He's been using the same plumber for years, same electrician, same gardener, etc. This happened back in my home country of Jordan. The country is mostly Muslim, but my family is Christian. So we wake up that day and the whole kitchen is flooded. My dad had recently got a new water filter installed and it was giving them trouble since the beginning. My dad had to leave, but he called his water filter guy, which is hella specific, to come fix whatever is going on. The water filter guy said he'll be there in a couple of hours. About an hour later, the doorbell rings and my bro opens the door. It's a man in a suit with a little briefcase. My bro thought it was one of the doctors for my husband, so he immediately invited him in. The man immediately corrects him and says he's not a doctor, he's there for the water filter. My mom knows the water filter guy, and this isn't him, but she just assumes that the original guy just sent this guy instead. So my mom asks what he needs. I'm in and out of this whole situation as I care for my husband. So the man went to the roof to look at the water tanks and he took pictures. Came back down and sat in the kitchen with my mom, telling her what he thinks the issue is. Tanks need replacing, and how much it'll cost and all that. So my mom calls my dad and passes the phone to the man who gives my dad the rundown, and then my dad says he'll talk to his original guy about the price. Man starts arguing with my dad on the phone to the point that my dad basically yells at him and hangs up. At this point, my mom kind of apologetically asks him to leave, and that my dad will just talk to his boss because that's what he prefers. The man says, "What boss?" She tells him his name and the man says he's never heard of that guy before in his entire life. Now my mom is freaking out. She asks who sent him and he says nobody. So she asks him how much she owes him so she can quickly get him out of the house. He says he noticed the man in the hospital bed and his only payment is that he's going to ask God to heal him. And then he left. And that was that. My dad's actual guy showed up a little later and fixed the filter, but my mom and I were shaken by the whole thing. We talked about it in detail for hours. We talked to my dad, and my dad's guy, and the nurse that was there that day, and my bro who opened the door, and none of us could figure out how this happened or who he was. The man just showed up to check water filters on the same day the water filters burst, but didn't want any compensation? This wasn't a scam. Nobody sent him? Like how? It still bugs me. My mom thinks he's a afrit or a demon. I just don't know. I was going through a lot at the time, so my mind might not have been all there, but everyone else that experienced this? Help? Any ideas? Also, my husband is doing so much better, thankfully. He's about 90% recovered and still healing. Thank you for your kind words, everyone. Case on file 1337. The Enigmatic Water Filter Man. I'd say if you build a relationship with contractors, handymen of all types, I don't think it's overcharging to keep using them, even if they're expensive. You're paying for that peace of mind built up over years that they'll get the job done and done well. Hard to put a price tag on that. Could this have been the makings of a possible scam or break-in attempt? I've heard of thieves posing as service workers to get inside a house and scout it out for valuables, defenses, and so on. What isn't clear is how this man could have known you needed work done on the filter. If he somehow knew, like he had tapped your phone lines, then he'd know the name of the company your dad used, the boss and all that. So why not pretend to be working for him? Why feign ignorance? As a possible scam or whatnot, it doesn't seem to add up. So was it a multiverse event where this was your father's guy in a different universe? If so, boy, he must have been seriously confused too. And I think a lot of glitches are like that. Everyone involved is confused. Bonus file written by kabekew, from childhood innocence to paranormal mystery. When I was 9 or 10, We had a big family reunion at my great-aunt's big Victorian house that her family grew up in, which she inherited. I got bored though, because there weren't any other kids my age there, so I went exploring through the house and found a check writing machine in the upstairs office or library. I remember the machine was black and gold and had lots of little levers where you'd select the individual numbers, then pull down on another lever to stamp the check. I'd put in pieces of paper that were on the desk and look at the numbers stamped on it. I was playing with that when I clearly heard another kid in the hallway say, "You're not supposed to play with guns, Bill." My name wasn't Bill, and I wasn't playing with guns. I remember saying, "I'm not." Then some moments passed and I got curious about another kid, maybe my age, being there. So I hopped up and looked into the hallway to find him, but there was nobody there. And nobody around my age downstairs or outside where everybody else was either. I figured at the time it was maybe some neighbor's kids who ran out. I didn't really think about it again until I was 18 or 19, and my mother told me her father, Grandpa Bill, my great-aunt's brother who grew up there too, had accidentally shot his friend in that house when he was a kid, when playing with his father's pistol. Then when I was in my 40s, I was driving my great-aunt somewhere, now in her 90s, and asked where in the house Bill had that accident, and she said in that upstairs office. I'm not religious, but that just seems too specific. Maybe it's a wild coincidence. I still can't explain it all these years later, and it's the only thing that keeps bugging me in my life. Case notes for the bonus file. From childhood innocence to paranormal mystery, I always found older technology to be fascinating. I'd play with my grandma's old rotary phone all the time. The noise it makes as it spun and the sensation when you'd spin it to select a number. For some reason it never ceased to amaze me as a kid. It is, as you say, far too specific to just be a coincidence, especially given that you didn't have prior knowledge of your grandpa's tragic accident. If you had known about it, then maybe it was some kind of mind priming, but that's not the case. And now time for the quote of the day. One of the keys to happiness is a bad memory. Rita Mae Brown. Well, think about it. What is memory? Memory is crystallizing the events of the past, to have them cataloged. And what is the greatest joy of life is to experience something new. So yes, if you have a bad memory and you forget what you've experienced before, you have a lot of reliving to do, and in fact, then life could be infinite. I think that is one of the keys to properly enjoy immortality. Life is grand, but there is a limit to how much new stuff you can experience. So if you have a device that can erase your memories selectively, then yeah, you could live forever and never get bored. That'd be pretty cool. We'll see if they get around to inventing that. Maybe Elon Musk with his Neuralink. I'm just hoping that it can help me cure these damn migraines if I go out into the sun. I don't really like being a vampire. Like the video, subscribe, hit the bell. Kinetic Symphony signing off.